At Plantation Villa, we offer our own yoga teacher trainings. So in this video, I would like to explain a little bit more about the structure and the aims of our training, but also about teacher trainings in general. What would be the ideal or the best possible teacher training that one can develop and one can experience? The first point is that I have seen through the popularity of yoga, the extension of yoga trainings everywhere, there has been a little bit of confusion between teacher trainings as exactly as a learning experience, a moment really to develop, to gather that wisdom of yoga, and something that is more akin to a travel or tourist experience. I think the training should be used really for learning. And if you want to have an experience, for example, an experience of healing or an experience of having a good time, I think that should be done as a separate trip. That doesn't mean, of course, when you're doing a training, you won't have healing moments. That absolutely can happen because of the practice, because of the studies, because of the new knowledge that will come to your mind. But, and also, of course, you're going to have good times, you're going to have good moments, you're going to meet people, you're going to have good experience. That's a given. But I don't think that should be the aim of your coming to a teacher training. Leave those to be at a separate trip. If you want to have a healing, go to a retreat. You can come to Plantation Villa as a guest and have a proper healing period. Or if you just want to go to have some fun or a break from your life, you can do that at any point. And then you leave the teacher training to be the time for learning, the period of development. Another point that I find missing in a lot of the modern yoga is roots. There are words like tradition, there are words like lineage. Those are a little bit of heavy words, but I don't think they are 100% necessary. You don't need to have a guru, you don't need to have a fixed teacher, you don't need necessarily to belong to a tradition. But it's always worth to remember that yoga has always been done on that structure of lineage, of tradition. And the reason is that provides you a root, that provides you a reference. Normally traditions, they would tend to hold fast to strong objectives. So for example, the yoga traditions, they hold in generally strongly to what would be the original strong objectives of a yoga practice. While if you turn it into a more modern context that is a little bit more loose, a little bit like free for all, then you can kind of get lost in a myriad of objectives. There's so many things you can get from yoga, and then because there's so much, you might not get anything. You get a little bit of each, but you don't really go into the depth of that well, of that science, of that tradition. So the need of roots can be interesting. My trainings have been more in line with the Krishnamacharya, Desikachar tradition. Although again, I don't think it should be conservative on that sense. I myself have traveled extensively and learned from different teachers, different perspectives, modern, ancient, and also things that are not related to yoga but that I bring into the practice. I think that's all possible, and I encourage my students to do that. But it's always worth to have a center, a place of return. So for me, that's the Krishnamacharya, Desikachar tradition from South India, and that provides me the, let's say, the bone marrow of the practice. It always gives me the direction of where to go to, how to get there, with a sense of reverence, with a sense of importance. So for that, for those reasons, I like to nourish that on my students as well. They don't have to be part of a tradition, but I encourage them to understand that yoga itself is a traditional practice. It has a long history of many practitioners wanting to develop and wanting to achieve these great goals of understanding human capacities and even ultimate goals of humanity, such as enlightenment and the beauty and the importance of being a human being. I would say that especially in modern context, the study of philosophy is very important. You see, in terms of body, for movement, for practice, for physical development as a sport, as an exercise, The modern world is actually has plenty of that knowledge. It's not that difficult to learn how to do certain movements, to learn how to do drills, to learn how to change postures, how to do sequencing. All the knowledge is available nowadays on YouTube and with so many sources of open knowledge. So the body's developments are not that complicated to be achieved, but the philosophy behind it, it's more complicated. So that's why on this training I give quite a good emphasis to philosophy, to the understanding of the theory of this practice. Why is it that we are using the body? Why is it that we are using the breath? How do you combine both? How does that experience lead towards meditation? And then where meditation should lead to? Why are you doing meditation? All that can be interwoven through philosophical inquiry, through philosophical understanding. So I do think a good, especially nowadays, a good yoga practitioner should be someone that has a good depth of philosophy and understanding, so that then they will know why the physical practices are being done. So the course will cover basically from the body up. We'll cover asana, we'll cover breathing practices, pranayama, and then we'll cover things related to lifestyle, but also we'll see history, we'll see again philosophy. I have a background in Buddhism, in Buddhist philosophy, in Buddhist studies, so that will be intertwined in the training because there's a lot of correlations between classic Buddhism and classic yoga. Also, we're going to see a little bit of Sanskrit, a little bit of Vedic chanting, so you understand this tradition of using sound, using mantra, using chanting as a means of reflection, as a means of healing. So all that will be covered in the modules for this course. And on this sense, this mix between traditional and modern, I am a Western, I'm a modern person, I came from a city, but I have now lived in East, primarily in Sri Lanka, but also I spent plenty of time in India as a modern Western in the East. So I've been always trying to look for this bridging between these two seemingly different words. They're not that much, but there are some differences. So this bridging between East and West, and this bridging between ancient and modern. I think that's actually the pathway of yoga. That's the beauty of yoga, because although it's a physical practice, it has a component of mental development. Although it's not a religious practice, it has a component of spirituality. Although again it's a physical practice, it has a long tradition of philosophy. So yoga sits in this middle place that I do think is ideal for nowadays. It's at the center, it's at the middle. It's not so much there, it's not so much here. So yoga can answer to both worlds. It can answer to the ancient, it can answer to the modern, it can answer to the Western, it can answer to the Eastern. And ideally, I would like my students to know how to create those bridges. How is it that can I take this yoga practice to be something that is suitable to all these different individuals? On the long run, in the course, through the studies that we are doing, you understand that the objective of yoga is universal. It's for everyone. But the pathway that you're trying to create as a teacher or as a personal practitioner then has to be individualized. One last point about trainings in general and the way that I do this teacher training is I prefer to teach less recipes and more inquiry. For example, in terms of asana practice, of physical sequencing of postures, instead of teaching you fixed sequences, such as, okay, after a forward bend, you do this back bend, and then you do this squatting position, and so on, giving a chart of postures, I prefer to teach you the principles behind forward bending, the principles behind back bending, the principles behind sequencing, so that you know how to open the scope of your teaching or of your practice. So I'm not a big fan of recipe kind of learning that is just memorization and teaching the same thing. If you want your practice to be broad and to be able to explore and to be able to even achieve these different objectives, then the mind has to have this capacity of being expanded through knowledge that gives this broadening, this opening of scope. So my trainings, and ideally I would say for most trainings, the student should be able to learn how to inquire, how to think, how to develop based on these principles instead of just memorizing sequences or memorizing instructions or memorizing cues for the body and so on. All this learning has a compounding effect here, which is the place. Traditionally, yoga has always been learned, or at least aimed at learning in natural places. There's this understanding that nature gives you the good space of mind for understanding and experiencing the states of yoga. So the natural sounds, the natural colors, the natural living, all that brings a sense of serenity, the sense of belonging, the sense of peace that are necessary for us to be well with ourselves, and then for the capacities of the mind, the capacities that yoga speak of, to unfold. So this place is very good for it. It's not like learning the city. It's like learning at an actual yoga place, which has the Ayurveda side as well. We're going to explore to a certain extent in the course as well. It has the cultural, strong roots, strong culture of Sri Lanka. So it's the place that just by being here, those qualities can naturally unfold into the system of the student. I do think yoga is ultimately, it is a practice that can be suitable to all. That means young, mid-age, old age, all cultures, all religions. It is a very, in essence, it can be a very universal experience. It's really, in the end, it's really about the mind. And any human at any age, at any country, shares a human mind. So in that sense, yoga should be taught and should be learned in a way that is, though these tools are known how to be crafted and then open to all. So this course is for everyone. And also you don't have necessarily to be a teacher. You can have these learnings for your self-development. Myself in the past, when I did my first training, that was many years ago, I didn't do thinking of being a teacher. I just wanted yoga so good for me. It helped me so much. So I wanted to understand more of it so then I can do it more. But here I am now, been teaching for many years. But it's not necessarily for teachers. Again, I didn't start to be a teacher, so I don't expect also my students to become teachers. I think anyway, to be a teacher is something that will develop by itself. Some people may be born to, some people not, and life will show and the training will show. But in any case, you can come for a training either having experience or no experience, either being a teacher or not being or wanting to be a teacher. And also say from my experience with yoga therapy, can be a good course or a good development for people from different areas of therapy. Let's say you're a psychologist, you're a massage therapist, or physiotherapist. You come from an area that works already with people, trying to help people, trying to heal people. Then this course definitely suitable for you as well. So I hope I can meet you in person. If you have any questions, feel free to write to us, and I'll be very happy to answer any doubt that you might have.